Basically, we've talked to traders, and one of the key aspects of trading is actually your mindset. Without the mindset, it's not even about trading. Anything you can't do anything without a mindset. And today we have a guest on today who will share his story, his journey, and transformed himself from somebody who was, let's say, more of an average type of person to somebody who was an exceptional human being. And these transformations require a lot of mental focus and discipline, and which translate directly into trading or any other endeavor that you take. And so one of our mutual friends, me and my partners, is Sam. Sam is currently residing in Thailand. And we want to just, if you want to just briefly introduce yourself as to...
yeah, don't know. Man like Sam Raz, shamanic badman, high priest of the 7 seas, transverse land, space, and time, the whole commander of the known universe. I'm from, do you want me to say it well? I'm from London. I was born in London. And here's what's interesting. I was born in like a very, very Islamic background. So I'm half Paki, right? Half Iraqi, half Indian, half, well, Iranian, Iraqi, Indian ancestry, half of my side. So I was born in like a proper Islamic conservative background, but then due to like a family rift, got deposited in a place called Brighton on the south coast of England, which is the equivalent of your Portland. Long story short, this place was bedlam, right? Like literally, it's okay to not be okay. People was literally, you know how like respectable people, they're like PhD in this, masters in this, 5 years experience in this, like their numbers and their letters are for qualifications. Where I'm fucking from, it was like a collection of all the letters you can get for mental disorder. It was like, I've got OCD, ADHD, PTSD, I've got all of these. Like, I take D, do you get me? Like, it was like just the most backward fucking place. So I was like, look, this is insane, right? And I didn't really have a dad around like telling me like, here's what going on type thing. So I was just like, look, the only way I can make common sense of this is just by boxing. Let me just get in because I know like this, like if I just fucking break my nose because I didn't block a punch, that's reality. This reality that I'm in doesn't even make sense. This reality does. So started fighting when I was like 14, competing in boxing. And then I just wanted to get the fuck out of like education and stuff because I could just see through the whole scam. I could see it was all just a psyop, the whole thing. And I moved to Thailand when I was like 18. As soon as I turned 18, moved to Thailand, had my first fight in like a month, and just started fighting over here. Came back to England, started MMA career, but my body just fell apart. And I can go into hella detail about why. I know shitloads about this, about like early traumas and stuff like that. It just, my body just couldn't keep up. My nervous system completely just got fried. So I stopped fighting, became a heavy drug addict. Everything I do it 100%. And I've got an IQ of 1 billion. So like whatever I do, I smash it out of the park. So when I do drugs, I really do drugs. So I went from this situation of like everyone around me was taking drugs and being a loser. And I was so Shaolin. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm just going to get up at 6 a.m. I would go out clubbing and stuff with people because I wanted to like join in when you're like 16. And I'd just run home. I'd be drinking water and I'd be shadowboxing in the corner like fucking school shooter. And I just run home and get up for training at like 6 a.m. That was my life as a pro athlete. Didn't touch nothing, no alcohol, no anything. Completely lost my ability to fight, got so depressed, all the demons from my past came back. And I was like, well, fuck it. Let's see what these drugs are about. If everyone likes drugs, let me see how good they really are. And then I went really into it and then ended up, the athlete mentality turned back on, talking about mindset. I was like, hold on, I'm not a loser here. So I became like fully suicidal. Like I would literally, my day consisted of just smoking weed, like staring at the ceiling and just wishing I had the balls to kill myself for like days on end. Didn't go outside. Like a care worker would come in, like the fucking, what do they call them, like the suicide watch or whatever, would like come knock on the door and they wouldn't even be able to open the door because there was just pizza boxes everywhere. It was honestly the most disgusting thing of all time, like mold everywhere, all this kind of shit. And I was like, fuck this. I'm not this much of a dickhead. Let me pull myself together. So I just started selling it. I was like, fuck this. I'm gonna make all the money by selling it. I'm not gonna be a consumer. I'm gonna be a provider because that's what life is. You're either a consumer or a provider. It's very binary. So I was like, fuck this. I want to provide the liquidity here. So started trapping it. Made like probably about, most of it was pretty much all in Bitcoin. I made like 20 Bitcoin at one point just by throwing it, like washing all the money into Bitcoin machines and stuff. Had like 900 grand or something, and then got confirmation bias. What do you call this in trading? You know, when you think that you're making all the right moves and you just get so carried away and arrogant and the hubris just wipes you out. And it's part of like I can't go too much into this, but it's part of like meeting the wrong people and getting caught up in the wrong things and thinking that I was more of a gangster than I actually was. just got the whole thing taken, like the whole thing just overnight.
That's
like,
actually a very common story and thread in trading. I'll let you keep going, but that's actually happens to every single trader. They get too cocky and they think they should and everything gets taken away from them. Exactly that. That's when you start learning. This is so.
That's where
this is how you
that's where getting rich begins. You have to lose everything first.
Right.
And that's why, on a separate note, I'm very, very wary and interested by young guys that make a lot of money or people that haven't lost it yet. You know what kintsugi is in Japanese, where you repair pottery that breaks with lacquered gold.
Right. There's another,
Yeah, so people that don't have the cracks laced with gold, I'm very wary of them. Just because your vase is all beautiful and pristine and rich and shit, if it's not got cracks in it, I'm wary of you, because you got a fucking lesson coming if you haven't learned it yet. So
Exactly.
yeah, lost the whole fucking lot. Was 30 grand in debt. It was so bad. I had to move back with my mom. I was buying a house, had a car, like lost fucking everything. So like 27, 28. This literally wasn't even that long ago. This is where I really, really started learning a lot. So I very nearly almost died. Like almost died 3 times in my life, but this was the second one, and this was due to like organ failure. My whole body just shut down. The stress of it.
Jeez.
Testosterone was in single digits. I actually transitioned. Like I was quite literally had the hormones of a dying old woman. It was fucking insane. Like the doctor said to me, bro, I can go into all the functional medicine side if you want, but like my actual numbers correlated with that of an old dying woman. So I was basically, there was one point where almost got section. Like it was bad. It was the worst you can possibly get. 28, just sat there, just I would try and do stuff and would just break down into tears. Like I couldn't drive anymore. I had to give my driving license up. Like I could not function. And my mindset was always on. I've never been a quitter, never been a victim. But this is where the mind-body connection is so important. People talk about mindset and mentality. They don't understand. For a strong mind, you need a strong body to carry it. It's synonymous. Like you can't have one without the other. So, and this is where the whole, I don't know how deep you want to go into a rabbit hole, but the people that profit off of men being weak, this is where they're so clever, because they try and convince you it's all just this intangible, just anxiety is this invisible thing. You can correlate it with black and white data, fam. Like you can test your gut, you can test your neurotransmitters, you can test your hormones. If they're fucked, best believe your mind's not going to function properly. So
right. If I can just a lot of from Joe Rogan to Wes Watson, a lot of people say the best cure for depression or anything else is actually the first step is just hit the gym, do some kind of physical activity. Because even Tony Robbins, if you want to go even in that self-help type of continuum, this says, your emotions come from your motion. So you have to be in some kind of motion, in a positive motion, for you to even start talking about positive or healthy mindset.
Break the word down, Stan. Break the word down. I can tell how intelligent you are. Break the word down. Emotion. There's 2 words. What does the E stand for?
Well, emotion comes from motion, right? So you need to have
energy in motion. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's a dynamic principle. Like emotion, people think is this stagnant thing. It's like sad, happy, angry. No, it's a fluid thing, and it has to go through the circuitry of your fucking vessel. Like your body's an electrical conductor, like, and energy is electricity. So I take the input of the universe. It goes into my nervous system through my parasympathetic, goes into my sympathetic, and then it has to get processed somewhere, i.e. through my spine. Like when that gets blocked and it stops moving, that's when big problems start happening. So you first undo it by moving again, get the energy in motion again, get the emotion flowing. Here's what's interesting though. I've always known this. I would go to the gym. I get up at 7, like at my fucking mum's house, like an absolute loser. You gotta understand. And here's the other thing, by the way. When I wanted to leave the underworld, I was like, I could make this all back. I had a good reputation because I'm very professional. Everything I do it properly. So my plugs, all the guys that heard what happened, they were like, fuck it, we'll help you get back up. Like, take a consignment, take some big risks, we'll get a big shipment, you can get your money back. I was like, fuck this. Like, the only reason I lost this because I deserved it. I'm calibrated into darkness. I'm not a bad person at all. My heart is fucking here to help the world. What the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm purveying darkness right now. This is just bullshit. And then I was very, very grateful. I was like, all right, cool. I've escaped with my life somehow. Like, my family is safe. Let me just fucking accept my lesson and recalibrate a better direction. So I had to start from actually 0. And this is mad. Like, imagine being 29 and just 28 or whatever, and people being like, what do you do? And you're just like, my identity. I would literally just say, well, I've just lost everything. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I got no idea. I don't want to sound a drug. I have no fucking idea. I hadn't fought in ages, completely ill. So I get up and go to the gym, just like we're saying. I try to go to the gym. I'll be doing my kettlebell swings and I just break down into tears. I would go to drink water, right? This is how bad the brain fog was, which is really correlated with low testosterone, by the way. Like, I would go to drink water and just forget how. And it sounds retarded, but I'm being dead serious. Like, the neural patterns, the connections in my brain didn't work. Like, I couldn't talk.
It was so fucked up. Yeah.
Bro, I swear to God, like there was one time where someone just called an ambulance whilst I was trying to order a coffee because they thought I was insane. They were like, someone's escaped from an asylum. Like I was trying, I could, my fucking body didn't work. So what I'm saying is like, I'm a Ferrari. Like my mind's like the same software they used to send rockets into space and back, but it didn't have the petrol. You get me? Like imagine trying to launch a rocket without the petrol. So the testosterone wasn't there, the doping wasn't there, the gut was fucked because the stress destroyed the gut. So I couldn't.
The wheels were the wheels had no air. Yeah, the tires had no air.
Exactly. So sorry. The only reason I mention that is because you're talking about like moving and stuff. You're absolutely 100% right. But when you cross a certain threshold, you really need to look at the data and go like, yes, you need a strong mind, but if you can't fucking implement the mindset because your body's got, like you say, there's no air in the tires, then you got to look at that first. How do you fill the air back up?
So what was your transformation from, what was the cause from trying, so see, in trading or anywhere in life, honestly, a lot of people try to do the shortcut way first, right? I've tried to do it. I think this is what we're talking about. You've done it. And it takes the fall to realize that there's no more shortcuts, and you have to do what you're supposed to do in a disciplined manner. And you also pointed out to the fact not catering to the dark side because yeah, you might have temporary victories there, but you're gonna lose the war. And it's good to lose that, to realize that in your late 20s rather than in your late 50s or something, right? Or 60s or something. I'll never realize that.
And I would say, let me add to that, by the way. I feel I'm very aware of the 50-year-old guys that are just they're spiraling and like it's worse that you make more money. Like if you're doing well off of darkness and you're getting older, it's like more time is confirming that what you think you're doing is right and it's just not. So the fall is even harder. I don't know what will happen, but it could be in the form of your kids. It could be on your deathbed. Something might happen. You might be 60 years old with 3 mansions all around the world or whatever. And you might just think, oh my God, like what have I fucking done? Like I've literally wasted my life. You get me? I'm very blessed it happened in my 20s, like you say, a chance to rebuild. I'm very grateful every day. I say thank you.
What was the catalyst, or what was the transfer? Like what made you say I had enough?
All right, I tell you, this is a really good point. Can I hear yours, by the way? Can we put a bookmark there? I want to hear what happened to you as well, what your thing was, because all successful guys have this, like you say, that odyssey,
sure.
that turnaround. Do you want me to
go first? Yeah. I can tell you what my downfall was. So for me, it was I was working on Wall Street. Everything was going well. 2008 hit. I switched from I moved to Miami. I was making a shit ton of passive income. And then I started getting lazy. I was working with somebody who was a very, very wealthy guy. I'm talking about worth in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And I was working on these projects, but I always wanted him to do a lot of heavy lifting. And I was just more of a benefiting from his harder work than my own thing. And I basically wasted 5 years doing that while neglecting my other things, and from losing a girlfriend of at that point, my fiance and everything. And then having long 5 years of debauchery, which sounds very interesting for the Instagram lifestyle society. You know, like when we watch on Instagram, oh, he's on a boat, or he's in this country, or he's with 5 girls, or he's drinking and he's partying. But inside, I might as well been dead, you know? So same thing. I went through all that shit, and it took me a lot to go through the death and rebirth of my own self. So for you to happen 28, for me to happen in my 30s.
How would you know, Sam? How would you know? I thought you were like 30 odd yourself now.
I'm sorry?
How old are you 30,
now? I'm 39.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool.
So I went through the same cycle, and it took years of abuse, mental. Again, outside picture looks fantastic. You have the cars, you have the women, but the drug abuse, the drinking, and the working in hedge funds, and hating this whole lifestyle because you're not inside, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or
that's synonymous with a lack of responsibility. That was my biggest lesson.
Exactly. And men without purpose distract with them with pleasure. So basically, once you don't have a purpose as a man, you have a endless pit inside, and you can fill that pit with all the sugar water that you want, meaning women, cars,
Crack and
toys.
smack and all of that, lad. Yeah, I know.
And it's Miami, so every
Yeah,
drug
all the
and
buddies.
every
Big dudes
debauchery
and that.
imaginable exists here, right? Plus, so it took a lot of pain to overcome all of that, and not pain, but more realization through going through that hell to emerge on the other side. And that's when you start helping other people. When you start living purpose, not for yourself, but for somebody else, that's when
This is it. That's one of the first fucking fastest ways you can turn your motherfucking life around is just go, look,
exactly.
It's very selfish to suffer. Yes, you're important. Yes, you need to take care of yourself first and foremost. But do you get me? Like, if you're just sitting around worried about how do I feel, fuck that. What, fix other people and then you start fixing yourself. Absolutely true. That genuinely true.
And that's when we started doing. Me and my partner Rod, our mutual friend, we started doing some
shout out
stuff,
Rod, by the way. Bad man, turning his life around. Big up Rod.
Exactly. And so we did a few nonprofit things. Now we're doing helping younger generation realize that it's not all about we're trying to open up doors for people that might have the talent but don't have the means. So we want to provide the means for them to level up in life.
Do you ever wonder about that? The amount of guys out there that could literally change the world, but they just don't. No one knows who the fuck they are because they haven't got the opportunity.
Exactly, and that's why we're trying to do these podcasts, not only with traders, but somebody who had to overcome all these things. Because in reality, a lot of people think it's all fun and games and it's all just making about money, but it's actually it's a journey and transformation. You have to become. The whole system has to be symbiotic, operating in one healthy way. So for you found first you had to go down in order for yourself to be rebuilt.
Incidentally, this is what some people, I think can I just add to that? I think a really important thing, the fall and the rise, it correlates with your potential. Because like the closer the harder the fall, the harder the ascent. Like with me, I have no choice but to be successful. It's inevitable. It's duality. For every action, there's a reaction. It's just universal law. Like the fucking shit that happened to me, there's no way I don't take over it's not possible not to. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why you got to embrace this shit. Like go out there and suffer. And like I'm not saying, actually, let me rephrase that. It's dangerous advice. Like you have to, like, that whole Phoenix thing and diamonds and all this kind of thing, like come from ashes. It sounds gay, but it's so real. Something about throw up. Just ate a whole chili a minute ago and it's making a comeback. It's making a comeback. No, but yeah, it's that there is 100% true. Like it's 100% true. If your story, and here's the thing, like another thing, like you can tell how successful am I going to be based on your story. If you can just come onto something like this, like I didn't even realize this was going to be a podcast like this. I don't even know what this was going to be. And then now saying like, who are you and what you say? I can just read it off. Boom, this happened and it's sick. It's an interesting story. I suppose I'm talking to people listening now. If you can't do that, then that's probably your problem there. You don't even know yourself. How do you know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from? You get me? You have to know exactly where you're coming from. And that story has to be fucking magnificent so that your ascent can be magnificent. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm a higher, like, I've got big aspirations. So you might be just an average-minded person that's just happy doing average fit. When that's fine. There's no judgment at all. Like as long as you're fulfilled. And there's another important concept. Men don't need happiness. We need fulfillment, which you're touching on. It's an absolute fallacy. It's part of the psyop, which, just be happy. Like that's what idiots say. The guys that aren't actually happy because they're trying to chase this thing that doesn't exist. All we need is purpose, fulfillment, and just to look ourselves in the mirror before we go to bed and go, no, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm cool. That's it. It's as simple as that.
But if you would have to avoid, I know, might be a silly question, but let's say if you had to be a younger version of yourself to undergo this transformation a little sooner, because, or do you believe it kind of in the fate that it happens when it happens for everybody else, or is there some kind of, not a trick, but like, is there a way to speed it up if you're younger? To not to go through, not to prolong the, how do you make it happen faster so you can do it in your earlier years? If you would have some advice for that, and if you have anything to say to that.
That's a hella interesting question, because on one hand, I'd say, like, obviously not disrespect you at all. I'm just saying objectively, I think that's a bullshit concept on one hand, which is, you are exactly where you need to be. That's just kind of like esoteric or whatever. But if you tune into Buddhism, right, and you just like, the truth is in the present. Like the present moment is the truth. It's all we've got. So sounds gay, sounds cliche, but it's so fucking real. Like you have to just understand, like, I'm exactly where I deserve to be. I'm exactly where I need to be. What do I do with this? So I think like trying to get ahead in that way is missing out on the lessons of right now. Like that's why fighting is so good, because there's nothing else exists. If I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna get smashed. I just have to be here and now. When you apply that to life, you scale that out. That's how you actually fucking calibrate into truth. It's like, I have what I have. What I have is this. I'm aware of what I have. Let me make the most of it, rather than like looking outside of that and going, well, what do I not have and how do I get it? It's like, no, this is what I've actually got. How do I make the most of it and add to it and build it and grow it type thing? But to give you an actual answer, I would say, well, I'm a fight coach, innit? Fucking fight. Come do what Rod's doing. Come train. Like, find a master like me, someone that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about, and go and learn and go and just put yourself through the fire. I've got a stick right here. Come training me. I'll smack you up with this stick until you realize actually all my insecurity. Like, because here's the thing with fighting. When you do fighting properly, I'm talking proper martial arts now. You get broken down so badly, you're forced to really look at yourself and go, hold on, what the fuck actually am I? All of this is bullshit. I'm living a complete illusion right now. Like, and I see this every day with my clients. I get these millionaires, all these big guys come up to me and they're like, yeah, I want to be a fighter. And I'm like, really? Oh, you want to be a fighter? Let's go. It turns out they don't want to be a fighter. What they want to be is someone who can call themselves a fighter so they can get chicks on Instagram. And there's a fucking big difference there. And if you're smart enough to make the metaphor, if you're smart enough to make the metaphor, you got to realize the happiness, the transformation, the ascent to the higher self, like to align your chakras and really unlock your divinity and your true purpose. It comes from just calibrating into truth, which comes through pain and insecurities. Pain is the lesson, like metaphorically, but also literally get smacked up. Like, know what it's like to get so frustrated. Bro, the amount of times I've cried where my teacher has just fucking made me feel like such a bitch. And I've gone, hold on a minute. Like, when I was trapping, I met my real teacher. I was making like $1,000 a day. And I met this guy and I realized it just doesn't mean anything. Like, this guy frustrated me so much because it turns out I wasn't the man. I thought I was the man. He could just break me in 1 second. I don't know anything. So let me just realize I don't know anything so that I can know everything. You get me? So that's that. Yep. My answer is get like embrace. Oh, this sounds so gay.
No. Let me pause you for a second, because this is actually if we wouldn't be talking to a person who is a fighter, and this guy would be working as a trader, he would have been saying exactly the same things, because trading is a very there's no hiding. This is not you coming to the office, you can put your head down. You're either producing or you're not producing. You're either making money, you're not making money. True. And it's a very honest, brutal sport, because you eat what you kill, first of all. Second of all, there's no bullshit. So you can run the biggest mouth, the biggest game, whatever you want. But the minute you start getting in the ring or in the trading arena, because you're trading against other people, you get your shit kicked out of you. Like I always say, nothing like this business will make you a grown man crawl into a little ball and cry in bed. You know, this is why people threw themselves out the window. Why do you think some 40-year-old guy would just end his life? That's how emotionally painful trading is as well. So that's why today we wanted to have a guest on who is coming from a fighting world, but you can see the parallels are just neck to neck with the trading world. And that's why it's important to take these lessons. The real man, real sport, real, the energy it is required. So the problem with trading, a lot of people want to be called a trader and they don't want to put in, and so they come from 1 to 2 or 3 and they bullshit about, and they don't want to dedicate a year or 2 of getting absolute fucking shit kicked out of them in order for them to then become good fighters, you know?
So to actually, I really want to give you actual answers rather than just waffling, which is, to the younger guy that's like, right, I know I don't know anything and I want to know everything. How do I ascend? Choose responsibility. Fuck the whole David Goggins thing about like, oh, let me just get paid, man. And now fuck all that about carrying boats and shit. I'm saying find some fucking responsibility where you make a big statement, embrace your ego and go, no, well, be honest, first and foremost. What do I want? Do I want 20 yachts? Do I want 1 wife? Do I want 100? Like, who are you and what do I want? Let me really decide what that is. Let me set a goal that scares the fuck out of me, that inspires other people to call me delusional. I've been called delusional over and over until the results start happening and suddenly you're not so delusional anymore. So say something that scares you, where it's like, oh, fuck, this is actually crazy. Really? I'm going to make 100 grand a month. And I come from like a family that told me I'd never make more than £500 a week, like a month or whatever. Like, that's insane.
So actually say that, be the first of your fucking generation to make the change, and then go fucking, you said that now. So you've got to be someone, a man of their word, because all we have as men is our word, right? But that's our honor. Like that's our whole legacy, is how true were you to your word, right? So you say your fucking word, and then every day you just action it. That's honestly the answer there. Is just pick the responsibility of going, I now have the responsibility to come through on my word. I made a big statement and now I've got to come through with it. So whether that's trading, whether that's fighting, whether that's being a carpenter, I'm going to build the best cupboard, whatever the fuck your thing is. You know what I'm saying? So that there is the answer, I think.